city council meeting for Monday, October 13th, 2025. I will call the meeting to order. If we could all stand up and say the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, roll call please, Cheryl.
Matt Peterson?
Yes.
Lisa Buddy?
Yes.
Dylan Meyer?
Yes.
Matt Shorty?
Yep.
Adam Ryder?
Yes. Okay, approval of the agenda. Number 4, does anybody have any questions with anything on there? Pretty easy.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second? Second. Okay, roll call please.
Lisa Buddy?
Yes.
Dylan Meyer?
Yes.
Adam Ryder?
Yes.
Matt Peterson?
Yes.
Matt Shorty?
Yeah.
Okay, number 5, I don't think we have anybody signed up, right?
Gary may want to speak, he's the only one that,
Okay.
for public forum.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep, Gary, if you wanna,
Yeah, that storm sewer with the water problem there. Now we got the water bubbling up out of the ground instead of just up out of the inlets. And, you know what that's gonna do? That's gonna create a sinkhole. Somebody's gonna fall in it. So, I just wanted to let you know, because when I worked at the county, once the county knew this was a problem, then it was their problem.
okay,
So if something ever happened, they can come back at you.
okay.
So
Is it in the ditch, Gary, or where's
I
it?
got a video of it, you want to see it.
Okay, okay. Yeah, if you could send that to,
I don't know how to do that.
oh.
Where's it, like in your property, Gary, or that 15-inch line with the risers in it?
Yes.
That one?
Yes. It's
Right in front of your
below-
house,
It's
or?
even below your house too, it's starting. And then Ed Ryder's, and, right before my driveway, it's got one start. I mean, if you don't see it, you can,
Yeah, sure.
you can look at it.
We walked it, we're talking, that's part of the thing again tonight is storm
Is
sewer.
that north of you?
He'd be north of me, he'd be the last house before Kunos.
The new one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember that line perforated?
I don't know.
Say when it's full, I bet it's coming out of perforations and creating little wormholes.
There's one,
Yeah.
there's another one.
Rain.
Yeah, see, that ain't much rain there, that's really minimal
That's
what we.
minuscule to what we've had.
Yeah.
When was that, Gary?
August 9th, I think, Doris said on her phone,
Okay.
then the next one.
There's not even water down there.
Yeah, and then the next one will be where mine is.
Whose was that one? That was that,
That was by Ed Ryder.
okay.
Okay, now I got mine. Right there. So you know that's gonna
Seams or what?
eating out the dirt.
I don't know if that's
underneath the ground.
perforated, that's the thing I don't know.
That
Shoot,
tile
it was
is
somebody
perforated.
Yeah,
That
when- when-
tile, I think is perforated.
Do you
When you-
remember
when
when
you
you
look
guys
at it,
I
had,
think it was when we dug yours
I
into
think it
there.
was too.
And maybe with that pipe always being full, maybe it's squeezing out, kind of like blasting little holes up in the ground. Obviously, once more water goes through, it gets bigger. That's the only thing I can think of that to be.
But the big rains, it comes right up out of those inlets.
Cause, yeah, right here, look at that.
Yeah.
Cause when I pull it up in my yard, you know, it's plastic, but you can't, that's where it starts.
Mm-hmm,
You know, and it's just plastic, and maybe just the elbow's plastic,
yeah,
and then the risers probably are,
yeah.
yeah. Well, it's on topic for discussion tonight, is storm sewer.
Oh,
And we
okay.
were down there, Friday, Adam and Mark and I, we walked that trying to come up with
That's a-
alternatives besides storm sewer, and there's no good alternative.
Yep.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, that's good to know, you know, so we,
That makes sense, doesn't it? It's full of water, if it's full, it's creating pressure.
yeah, pressure, it's gonna wanna relieve somewhere, and it's gotten to a point where it's coming out outside those inlets, I guess, you know.
It's starting to come
Power
up.
wash those out of there and water out eventually.
okay. Well, thanks for just coming in, Gary, and letting us know, and giving us, you know, video of that, so we kinda that's kinda on the topic, tonight, is to try and look at ideas for down there, so. We know that that's, you know,
Okay.
not rated to handle, you know, what's coming through there, so.
It's been talked about for several years, and, you know, when Ellis was gonna build, that was, you know, gonna be the thing that has to push us to, because the more concrete and stuff we get down there, just less places for anything to go, so, you know, we have to do something.
Is there any option of taking some of that water to the other side and just make a little swale in that ditch?
We went over that, go ahead, Mark, please,
Yeah.
we just went over all that Friday.
We looked at trying to do something with the ditches, and just with everything so flat through there, it just can't get that water away. So what we're proposing is to do a design for a storm sewer that would run right down your side, cross over just, north of the senior center development there, and then we take it right through the, down industrial lane and dump it out at Copper Creek there, and, you know, since you got that large 24-inch concrete sewer that dumps in.
Dumps
there's just
into
no
it,
way
that don't work.
No. So, it's been a long-standing issue, and we're gonna look at possibly addressing it here.
So, do you have any time span on this? I'm holding off on my driveway until,
A lot of it's gonna be contingent upon the city's ability to find funding. Tonight, we're gonna talk about, you know, moving forward on the design of it. You know, we're looking at some different funding options, you know, with the city, they've got a storm sewer fund. There's also the potential for USDA funding, but they're on shutdown right now, so I can't really coordinate with them much on that, but we're gonna look at ways to possibly fund this to, you know, stretch it out and try to do the right thing here, so. Hard to say the timeline right now, but, you know, I'm sure if you kinda keep in touch with the people here, you'll kinda understand how it's gonna roll out.
so if I cement that like everybody else did up the driveway there, you know, make that big swale. If you change that, do I gotta tear all that cement out and redo it?
We're not gonna, the plan would be to put a new sewer in underneath those driveways. And then if we're cutting that, what we would do is, you know, take out to the nearest joint and replace it the way it is, basically.
So would that storm sewer be when you do curb and gutter? to
No
look into
curb
it?
and gutter in this area, and it's planned currently. The project that we're, gonna do is actually put a storm sewer to take care of the water that's coming out through that 24-inch, in addition to all the water that's coming in and the adjacent, drainage areas, like, you know, the area.
15-inch pipe with a bigger pipe.
It's just a bigger one.
We're looking at a substantial, maybe 36, 48-inch pipe to take that all the way down through the industrial park too, so.
Okay.
We were hoping we could dump it out by Highway 64, but there's not enough elevation to
Now,
be able to
this
drop it
can't,
there.
you're gonna end up having it backed up if we try to do it over surface there, so.
You know, we're getting water, that water comes out of that 24-inch culvert, I mean, that goes all the way up like to the school parking lot, all that's, you know,
Yeah.
so, you know, and all that just made it worse in the school, you know, we did that, so the more concrete and asphalt that comes in, pavement, it's just nowhere for the water to go, so. I think, you know, and an issue we're dealing with is, correct me if I'm wrong here, but in 2019 would be, well, had rough numbers on it, it's $1 million just for the storm sewer. That's not curb and gutter or street or anything yet, so it's just the funding to get the funding, but it's a high priority.
Yeah, okay.
I know we didn't answer your questions necessarily, maybe, but.
I mean, Gary, I wouldn't hold off, if you're wanting to concrete it, I wouldn't hold off on it. I mean, like Mark said, if we decide to pull the trigger on it, you know, if you concrete that driveway, you know, if we gotta cut through it, it'll be replaced, so. Either way, you know, you're not out anything if you would concrete that, you know, so,
Alright.
basically, yeah. If that answers your question.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, yep.
Yeah, that's not to say it might not raise a little bit there, but again, whatever happens, your concrete will be fixed to accommodate right up to where you're at.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, does that answer your questions on Gary? Okay. Do we have anybody else for public comment? No? Okay, we will jump down to 6 then, the consent agenda. Again, any questions, if there's anything on there?
No issues on the building permits?
No, they were all fine.
Is letter P the old Feller House?
Yes.
Yes, that.
The letter P, that's the old Feller House?
Yeah.
What's our thoughts on that?
Wait. As far as the building permit?
Yeah, I mean, what's our thoughts on this far as getting the rest of it cleaned up before we start opening up a new project and extending that farther down the road as far as getting that property rectified?
I think this is his answer to, for it to be rectified, is getting it to where he's going to, could start the, addressing the issues.
Okay.
This is his response to the letter he got. And he said, well, he was just kind of waiting to get his other projects done, this was his plan, but it's bumped it up as a priority to him to move forward on it. And, tear down the bad part, which is the kitchen, make extra living quarters and make that a garage, and then, fix up the rest of the house as well, but,
So basically, he's looking to refurbish it to make it a livable space again.
yeah.
That's what I was hoping, and that makes complete sense, as
Yeah.
long as it's a whole continuous project, so yeah, I'm
Right.
100% for it.
Yep, that's what we were asking for.
Yep.
I did forward his response in the building permit on to Terry, our building inspector, and he said that was good news, and, he would continue to follow up with him
Okay.
after 30 days and keep that moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, thanks for including Terry on that, so he kinda has an idea of what's going on there too, so. Yeah, good question, though, for sure.
That's great news.
The
Okay.
Gramblin's just as stupid for the entrance that they put on their new addition.
Yeah.
And the other one is just completing the fence in the backyard for the property that she just purchased. There were no issues according to Eric as far as any property lines or anything like that, so.
Yeah, that's looking really nice through that project.
Okay, do we have any other questions with anything on the consent agenda? If not, I will ask for a motion to approve as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
and roll call please.
Matt Jordy?
Yeah.
Adam Ryder?
Yes.
Matt Peterson?
Yes.
Lisa Buddy?
Yes.
Dylan Meyer?
Yes.
Okay, number 7, lot 5, West Street, discuss and consider approval for the sale of lot for non-residential use. So, we kinda tabled this from the last meeting, to kinda give everybody time to think about this a little bit more and maybe kinda explore some options. I guess I don't know, who wants to start, or, if there's any other discussion needed on this. I guess I'm open to opinions and thoughts, and looking to, in my mind, give a yes or no tonight, so everybody can move on with this. So,
I guess we kinda asked for a little bit more research, right? Did you guys come up with some numbers, that concerned items? We were looking for a little more investigation.
We ran down after the meeting and just kind of visually showed where my concern point was, the lower spots coming through my lot heading towards the older
Right.
manhole there at Coonlaw's.
Yeah, so we took a look at it on Friday then in person again after
Yep.
you and I had met after the meeting, and then I went down with Matt and Adam and we took a look, and Tim had done some research too in the area. So the sanitary is, the invert of the sanitary line that is closest to Jesse's property there is only like 3 foot deep or something, right?
3.5.
3.5 foot deep. Over on West Street, it's 9 foot deep. Allowing Jesse to make the connection at West Street would alleviate concerns and issues with freezing potential with his sanitary hookup. 20 or 30 PSI.
West Street static was 90 PSI. When we, the residual, when we opened up hydrants or whatever, dropped down to like 70, 72. And then on the Grant Street, on the hydrant, on Grant and Mitchell, that had a static of 65. And there's a hydrant at the end of Grant, by the old Garing place, I think.
Yep.
When I opened up that one, it went from 65 to like 40, 45.
Yeah, so,
And my big thing with, if I could get sewer over there, I'd like to do all three, like I said, in one trench, open dirt, rather than tearing up in front of my place, tearing in front of Joel's. As far as getting, finding water over there, finding gas, having different trenches, zigging this way, zigging that way. If I could get to West Street too, I could, in a perfect world, if it meets the city standards or what, like I said, open one backhoe, one hole, offset everything and put my water, sewer, and gas and stub it up and connect it, rather than trying to figure out how to get, find, it's just so old, as I said, try and find the gas, we can find the water easy enough, and you can find it, but trying to get to it is another.
the one thing that would potentially make us more palatable, and again, this is just my thoughts as I'm looking at it and hearing all the opinions, I think you said non-residential selling of the property, but didn't you say that you would commit to making that a?
Yeah, I would look at it in the future, 2-3 years down the road, I think, with Ellis's thing, depending on how that goes, I think there's a huge need for older people that want low maintenance, a smaller house, wanna come, want single level, one pad, farmers, there's these farmers, small farmers getting sold up, wives are getting widowed. Depending on how Ellis's things go, which I know that's gonna be well above what I would ever, I'd build. If I was gonna build something down the road, it'd be one level with a storm shelter in the middle, a cement bathroom, 1.5 bath, 2 bedroom, 2-car garage, and open living room, dining room. Something, steel based, like Rollings here, and just something simple, easy. It's close enough to my place that I could, if a little old lady moved there, I wouldn't sell it. I would, if I owned it, I would rent it, lease it, whatever. I could take care of the maintenance, the grass mowing, all that stuff. So that's what I got floating around in my head. But if 3 years from now Ellis still has, is it 12 PS4 for sale, and it don't seem feasible, but we're not getting any better with our housing shortage we have. Even if it was a small, teacher moved to town, and if there's just, this town is lacking that style of house. Like I said, that's something I would look at doing down the road.
And that's one of the things I think, the big intention the city had was that remained residential. You turned away a non-residential offer in the past, right? If there was some commitment that you would just make sure you do that. The other thing was you had mentioned possibly wanting an additional easement adjacent to the 30-foot easement for the utilities, but I would recommend, if you'd be okay with it, that you recommend to the council that you could put those utilities within the 30-foot easement and not break off any more of that residential than the 30-foot that's already committed to the easement.
No, and if I owned the lot and the city was for that, I'd be, if the city, gave me 5 foot on the south edge of it, if I owned the lot and that was I just don't wanna I don't wanna put my utilities in it if Joe in the city, but if I own that lot, I could put it on the 5 foot to keep more room for me in the future, or, like I said, I keep it for sale until infinity if I didn't build anything on it. If someone wanted to buy it 3 months from now or 6 months from now, and I could, put it, but then what I would do is I would section off that easement, that 30-foot easement part of it. I would buy that, I would keep that
That's
in my
something
mind.
we'd wanna do, Jesse, we're all about, I think, we can't hold it up from selling it, but it has to remain, a residential lot like it
Yeah,
is.
no, like I said, I don't wanna I will not put anything other than a house on it. I will not put a shop on it. I'll not, I won't, other than, I want a 15-foot wide driveway, and I think with, in 2001, when this was platted, platted, there's a 30-foot ingress egress. I think, our forefathers, the council at that time planned, had all intentions of either the city or some sort of a road, possibly down, the need of a road to be there. like I said, I've great community support, I haven't heard anything bad, even, I've heard from some people that are interested in buying, possibly or leasing or however Ellis is gonna do that there, and hey, if we had a road, we could, it'd be a nice, clean, easy way for us to sneak in and out of town, and I don't care if people, walk on it or whatever to get to the post office or grocery store, because right now they're gonna have to, head up south and make a big loop around, so I haven't heard personally, I don't know if you guys have, I haven't heard anything negative within the city, everybody's been pretty positive.
The one clarification I wanna make, if it was an ingress egress easement, it really would be for the adjacent properties, not as a cut through for like people to go to the post office.
No, I mean, just like some old ladies walk, we have people cut through our lot, there's people in town that cut through our lot, get the old ladies walking, and I would sign the heck out of it. I mean, Gary don't want traffic going through there. Gary and Kunos I've talked to a couple different times, they're all, I believe still for it. I would make, and maybe even use a little police enforcement at the beginning and just, lay the law down right away that it's not a drag strip for the, high school kids to get from one side to the other. Yeah, Driscoll's, I'm sure, don't want it either. I would sign it, private road only. Yeah, I would do what it took to.
Yeah, I'm not sure, I was reading, you let me take a picture of the deed there that you had.
Yep.
There was words on there about the fence,
Yeah, I didn't.
and it
totally
says a
understand.
fence should go on the south side of the easement and the west side of the easement, which I thought was strange. If you'd have if there's a fence on the west side of the easement, that would mean that there's like a gate there or something,
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
unless it's just like something where, it's for use of the property owner to go in and out of there with the use of a gate. So I don't know what the intention was behind that, but that language is in there, the south and west side
Yeah.
would have a fence.
And I'd be willing to put, fences are just a lot of maintenance. Even behind Ryder's and Peterson's and Rawlings, I'd be willing to put a strip of nice, cedar trees or something like that, we have nice trucks there, but we have crappy trucks there, we're industrial, I'd be willing to plant them along there and then cut them out towards the road too to kind of eliminate the, not the eyesore, but it kind of is an eyesore or whatever too, but yeah, I don't think a fence is really needed. Like I said, you can get nice arbatas or whatever and plant them up just to give the three residents along there a little piece as well as,
No, it's not like we're looking at an eyesore. I don't
Yeah,
think
no,
that's-
yeah,
that's
it's
not
not,
the case
yeah.
at all. But I think, I'll speak for myself anyway. Again, I'm fine with selling the lot to you, Jesse, as a residential lot. The way it's worded, you would inherit the same wording that Christensen's had. And the way it states is, if it was held to, that you need to build next August. So when or not next August, sometime next year in 26, don't hold me to the date. So when you say you might build, you might not, the wording is in there, not.
Yeah, and if like I said, if I don't build, I keep it for sale. Like I said, I don't wanna, I don't want a sign saying I'm gonna build next August. I just don't, I gotta invest some more money into my business before I can, have some frivolous money to build an extra house. I wanna build a new shop, office, parts room, stuff like that, so that's my next company goal. But yeah, like I said, I would, if, like I said, I keep it for sale. 3 years from now, if someone wants to jump in and say, hey, I got a perfect, house, I got a perfect concept for a house, I'll gladly sell it, if I, and like I said, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, if it hasn't sold, then I got, in my ultimate plan, I have extra money, I could write it off. I wouldn't pay for it, the company would, but it would just be another asset for Kilburg Equipment to have have more income there, and it would help, city of Preston, and like I said, school teachers, little old ladies, we just don't have much for housing.
Building on it's great, but I think, the parcel 30, the easement off, though, I'm not in favor of that. The lot is what the lot is,
Well, I just would be worried if the city wouldn't have with my utilities,
That's what the easement's for, is utilities go in it. As long as the city's fine with it,
Yeah, okay, then that'd be good.
it's utility,
Yeah, yeah.
utilities can go in it, so
Yeah.
there's already utilities in the easement.
yeah.
Gas is 20 PSI city round. So can you put water and sewer in the same trench? Fresh water and
I think you can,
sewer?
but there has to be
They
Sewer has
separate,
to
don't
be
they?
2 foot below the
2
water.
foot below and all, what, yeah, I asked Brandon Mark.
Can be in the same
But
trench, it's
yeah,
gotta have
it's
a
just gotta
height
be,
difference.
Yeah.
it's gotta be offset one way or
Surface
another.
laterals, you know, you've got more flexibility than the mains, you know.
Yeah, I don't remember what it is for services, but I think, honestly, mains is, it has to be 2 foot in between there.
Just a couple of questions, Jesse, just to,
Yep.
you know, the water, you know, the 8 inch, the pressure difference, are you looking for water suppression, or what kind of water usage are you?
Just like a
using
2
that
inch,
determines
so
the water?
we're gonna, we sold you guys a street sweeper, we don't have a new one, but in order to clean them out, you don't need pressure, you need volume of water. So I would probably run like a 2 inch line, to some of them newer shops, or if I ever, built more shops back there, a 2 inch line, just so I got flow instead of.
So coming off, again, if we're trenching through, it's probably a good issue, but coming off a 4 inch line, then you still be able to get a 2 inch line to whatever you need then. You still have the volume of water.
Yep.
So, and then, you know, just this, the road, I just wanna understand the need for the road. You know, we talked about 1 truck a day, we talked about running a fork truck back and forth to West Side, which, you know, so I have some safety concerns about a slow fork truck on West Street. You gotta go down Highway 64. I mean, it doesn't sound very safe to me to run a fork truck back and forth.
It's not, but it's the only thing, I can't afford a $50,000 fork truck down that west side for the little bit of work I do, so I usually have a follow vehicle behind us and take the.
Anyway.
Matt? I started this conversation.
I mean, I'll reiterate what Matt Peterson said. I mean, I think, you know, we've kind of discussed it, and I mean, I'm certainly not wanting to, you know, stop the lot from being sold. It's just, you know, our expectation, at least mine and I think Matt's are, that, you know, it's gonna remain a residential lot, and I think, you know, you've talked about, you know, putting a little alleyway in there. I don't know that I'm really in favor of, you know, splitting that apart. You know, I think, to me, if you buy it and you want that there, then, you know, if you are able to put another, you know, a smaller housing unit or something there, great. I mean, you know, if you maintain ownership of it, you know, I'd be all for that.
Lisa, Dylan?
I watched the meeting last week and all you guys' thoughts on it. I don't think we're setting a precedent, cause I think it's a different scenario from what everyone, from my understanding. I do like the thought of it staying in a residential lot, if you can do that. But I don't have a problem with it. I think it's a good thing for the business. I think maybe for the town. I think there's other lots in town, if someone does wanna build, they have the other options. I just see if this doesn't get done, it'll sit there empty for a very long time.
Yeah, I'm still in favor with it, you know, I think the road helps a very successful business in town. I think the ability to keep it for sale, for residential purposes, or putting a house on it in the future, like Jesse talked about, I think, to me, I think solves a lot of the problems, or a lot of the issues with it.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add on that?
Yeah, I'd say, you know, keep the road in the easement, not turning it into a parking lot, not saying that you would, right? We don't want like garbage trucks parked along the side of that and
No.
having that kind of protrude away from your business, and, yeah, keep it for sale, build on it. I don't see an issue with it as long as, yeah, let's keep it residential. As far as parceling off, I had mentioned last meeting to do that. Maybe that doesn't make a lot of sense. Just narrowing up what you can build, but it's gonna cripple you for potentially selling it to somebody else in the future, because then you're not gonna own the road. So if that's the case, then you would just, it would be your lot, and in hopes of putting some sort of a single-story residential, whatever you were talking about doing there, would be, you know, kind of the only option.
Yeah, even with the lot, you know, no basement, just did 4-foot footings, I would still, looking at it, I think comfortable, you know, and I know the new storm sewer project will help it a lot whenever that comes in, but I would think you would still wanna build that up probably 2-3 foot, just to get a little safety factor when it comes to it is, I mean, it's just, as he said, it's flat, and that's kind of the lowest point, unfortunately, right there.
Okay, is there any discussion needed on? anything? Gary?
You know, I've been listening to some other things. Why is this lot so important? You got all the lots up at the church. Why not be more concerned on them lots than this one? You know, this lot, I didn't talk to Jesse about this. Okay, say you take and put an egg in this basket and 10 eggs in this basket. He's probably paying as much money up there as 10 lots. I don't know for sure, I'm just guessing. And you're trying to keep this lot, you could lose all 10 of them up there.
Well, Gary, I guess, and I'm just gonna speak for myself, I was on the council, and I've said this in the past, but I was on the council when we denied that lot being sold, for a residential, non-residential use. Basically, somebody's gonna put a shop on it for their semis, and we denied that because we wanted that to stay residential. At the time, we had heard some feedback, that people in that area were not in favor of that, and so that was our whole, I guess, idea of that was to keep that residential out there, you know, to kind of keep that line of houses, you know, where you're at, keep that going, and right down towards Kuhnhaus. So I guess with being on council when that happened, I guess it's to me, it's hard to go back and change now, when we denied that, originally, because of that reason. So it's hard for, I guess, myself to get on the boat on the side of, we're gonna sell it and let somebody just put a road through it and maybe a house. I mean, so to me, how can we tell that person 3 or 4 years ago, no, you can't build a shop there, that we want houses there only. And then now we're gonna okay it for somebody to buy it, just to put a road on it, and maybe a house someday.
Okay.
That's my whole thinking on it.
Did he know back then already that there was an easement on that property?
Who's that?
Or whoever you said was gonna build a shop on it?
I don't know if they knew that or
Yeah, I
not.
don't know if they did or not.
Yeah, I can't answer that, I guess.
But I mean, the ultimate result was that it was
I mean,
denied.
it would've, yeah, it would've came out even, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But Joe never knew about it, did you?
I did, no, just actually found out, to, telephone company, right?
Yeah, telephone company,
So,
I want to point out to me.
So I guess what I'm getting at is it wasn't represented right from the city when he bought it, because they didn't explain to the easement?
I don't think that's fair, Gary. I think if you look at the abstract, it's on there. I mean, you have to, again, you have to know what you're buying, you know?
That's not with anything else.
I don't know.
The seller has to tell the buyer what's going on. It ain't the seller checking it out.
There's probably fault on both sides, honestly. I'll just leave it at that. So, were we probably as clear as what we needed to be? No. You know, when you buy something, you know, is it as clear as it should be? Yes and no. It's, you know, it can go either way.
Yeah, I went back and looked, I found the original purchase agreement, and it did indicate, you know, that you had to abide by the easements, you know, and leave those. I didn't see anywhere in that specifically where it did spell out, you know, like what the actual easements were, so I mean, I didn't see that was spelled out. So, yeah, I mean, kind of reiterating what Tyler said.
Okay, I got another question.
Sure.
Would anybody in this room, which I don't think would, build on only what's left on that lot? Sell your house and build there?
When you look, Gary, there's more property there, even when you take the easement out, than there is on some of the lots in Harvest Heights by far. There's there's more property there.
Well,
there's
he's
some
only,
lots.
he's down to 80 feet.
Those, go look at some of the lots up in Harvest Heights, I don't have measurements on me, but there's,
You know,
Square footage is still bigger out there than,
Then up at the church
on
up
some
there,
of them, yeah, on some of them, yeah. 'Cause they took-
that's why they're not moving.
95 foot, isn't it? 90 or 95?
I don't remember. Again, I think we're all in agreement, we're in favor of selling it to Jesse. We can't
Right.
stop the sale of it, that's fine. Jesse can buy it as the lot that it exists.
Yeah, we're just trying to be transparent on
Right,
where we're at,
100%.
you know, and what we think, you know, right now on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so it's not that we're more focused on, this is just came up just because, you know, the transaction that's wanting to happen. But yeah, no, we're not saying this lot is more important than any of those other ones, you know, by any means, so.
And like I said, I mean, wholeheartedly, I will not do anything that upsets any neighbors. I want to be the most neighborly person possible, and I will not do anything that's gonna upset or hinder the growth of, you know, the city of Preston or anything like that. You'll wholeheartedly have, you know, my word.
And it makes complete sense with the sewer being three and a half foot, you know, going down looking at that makes sense.
Yeah,
I
it's just,
get
it's
that.
way lower there than I would ever, and I didn't even think about that. When I built, you know, you're excited about building a new building, and I built that new building and got it all up, and we were gonna go, I had Brandon Margaret come just throw me a quick quote for the bank on the utilities, and we said, well, where's, and we touched base with Joe, or Tim, sorry, and, it's just like that, you know, that's our option. We started looking like, well, you know, you can visually see that that's gonna be an issue, and, you know. again-
The gas and the water, the water are kind of 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, well, if
The gas is right there, it doesn't make sense to run all the way through, and your pressure is the same.
Yeah.
You know, you're not gonna change this.
I just happen to dig, if I was gonna do it, I would go, you know, 10 foot off your rollings and riders back and go down that way, and like I said, every 100 foot, leave a stub and a connection if, that way down the road, if we build more, easy to tie into. I was just thinking, rather than digging, you know, if I'm gonna dig one for this, you know, 8 foot deep for the sanitary sewer, I might as well put everything in there rather than turn around and come back and start trenching one from that, you know, down the other side of the property and take up more underground space that limits to where you can build and what you can do. That's my, you know, if I'm gonna do sanitary one, and it's legal and EPA compliant, put them all in one, I would rather just dump them all in. As long as they're, you know, I think they're all on this side of the road, eh?
What's that?
West Street, are they all on this side, or are they all on?
Gas and sewer, or gas and water on the west side, and, electric and, sewers on the east side.
Okay. Electric I already have, but yeah, that was my only, you know, this saving, it's not cheap to dig a trench, just to dig, just to.
We'd have to go by, you know, where the city wants you to run down the easement, obviously.
Yeah, once we get to that point, yeah, like I said, if I get 5 feet or whatever, you know, 8 feet, whatever it takes, I don't know. But yeah, whatever's compliant, and then I know you guys have put all your utilities so far, you know, nice and trying to get that
Back and forth
fence.
as far as we can.
So, yeah, so there's a lot of room there yet.
Did you check, Mark, can we put a road on top of the easement? Is that?
We had a question into the attorney to look at the wording on that easement and to maybe understand more. We don't have that answer yet. You're planning on doing some sort of gravel?
Just gravel, yeah.
So, don't have that answer. I went and talked to Cheryl and we reached out, but we don't have a response yet.
As if you, obviously, if it does, you just have to understand that if whatever you do could possibly, you know, something.
Yeah, just like an alley, if you
It'll
guys
be
tear
tore
it
up,
up,
could
I
be
gotta
tore up
fix it.
again.
And yeah, my plan is put a, you know, 4-inch ballast, you know, about a foot thick, and then 6 inches of, you know, road rock. Get down to, get the black dirt off. Like I said, I don't know if there's gonna be enough room there that, who farms it? John Grant? If he wants to keep the, yeah, if he wants to keep the hay, he gladly could, but if not, I mean, my dad mows for me. You know, we'll keep it mowed down and keep it in compliant with Rawlings and.
Yeah, I don't think there's no, well, you own it, whoever owns Christian, you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, I just didn't know, like I said, I ain't gonna let it grow, if, like I said, John says he don't, you know, it ain't big enough for him to do hay on, I ain't gonna let it grow with Yeah,
Need something to do.
there you go.
Okay, alright, any other discussion needed? I think I'm good.
I'm good.
If not, I will ask for a motion, for lot 5.
I'll make a motion to approve the sale of lot 5.
Second,
I'll second it.
and roll call please.
Hillmeyer.
Yes.
Matt Peterson.
As long as it stays as a residential lot as it is, yes.
Lisa Buddy.
Yes.
Adam Ryder.
Yes.
Matt Wright.
Yes. Okay. Alright, let's jump down to number 8, discuss and consider approval of moving forward with Origin Design to prepare, the design agreement and plan documents for the stormwater project for West Street. So Mark, I guess if you wanna fill us in on what you
Thank you,
guys.
guys, appreciate it. Thank you for all your time.
So I updated the FMP financial management plan for us to do the design work now. It'd be 86,500, I think back a few years ago it was like 80,000, but, now getting the updated fees in there, it's 86,500, and that would take you through bidding the project. You know, I held off on adding any construction phase services until we would actually know when and how we were gonna construct that. If we would have to do some sort of a facility plan related to the funding you end up choosing to actually do the construction of it, that would be an additional, you know, they're typically in the ballpark of about 15,000 to do a facility plan that is required by the funding agency to get funding on the project. So what I would, you know, my recommendation now is to do the design agreement, and then, you know, depending on how things go with trying to track down funding for the project, you know, we could let you know if that 15,000 is something that we need to add because of the, say if it was a USDA funded project, so.
What do you think our chances of getting funding on it are?
Well, the funding and by loan, I think you could get that with the USDA. I don't think there's any problem with that. You know, and I think we need to keep our ears, to the road as far as trying to see if there's grant money that could become available. You know, but I'm not aware of any right now. So the money is likely going to have to be a loan to pay for the project.
Didn't we one time explore CDBG? And that
Oh,
was,
the problem with CDBG is that they always want you to do they're not good at funding just conveyance projects. You know, if you're gonna put in a detention pond or bioswales or, you know, something similar to what was done up at, Harvest Heights.
Which cost us more than just doing it ourselves.
It did, yeah. It's a joke.
It
Yes, it
sounds
did.
crazy, you know, when you end up having to do all this stuff to try to use the, you know, the BMPs, they call it, you know, and try to, slow that water down, clean that water, you know. But the conveyance projects are typically not funded by grants, very well, typically. So you're really looking at, for conveyance, the mechanism to finance it is typically a loan. You know, so.
Yeah.
so we'll just wait and see when the government opens back up and see what we can find out through USDA. Just
Yeah, and
for-
if you can get this design, you know, you're able to get your design ready, it's, you know, even if you ended up putting it on the shelf for a year or two after that, the design is done, all we would have to do is maybe refresh it a little bit for, you know, the current dates and bidding and stuff like that, but, you know, the project continues to get more expensive the longer it gets pushed into the future, you know? And that would continue on.
And it's not addressing the current problems.
That was gonna be my
surfacing.
point, yeah.
Well, Yeah, I mean, to me, it's a bigger issue topic. It's easy to just get tunnel vision on this project. You know, I still think it boils down to priorities. We have sewer project, and it's not sewer, but it's, you know, a paving, project that we talked about, you know, on the southwest side of town that, you know, yeah, we bit a chunk off a couple of years ago, but it's not by any means done. You know, we talk about the School Street, Catholic Church, part of that, you know. So just don't lose sight of everything else. You know, I know it's easy to, like I said, focus on one thing, but that's my spiel. There's a lot of projects too, so I think it's a I think before we go rushing into signing an agreement, I think we need to really sit down and weigh each option and come up with a pretty firm priority of, you know, where we rank on our projects all over town. It's just my 2 cents.
Mark, would it be even possible or any cheaper to have, see if the county would grade that ditch to run the deep creek, or?
We looked at that, and just the grades aren't gonna work out where that water can get away well,
Fast
you know?
enough.
You're still gonna have the same issues.
I don't think go in there and trench or grade it out so it does have to grade.
Yeah, and I think you end up not being able to get that water away once it gets to the highway, you know? So. Yeah, one of the other things, Tyler, as you're talking about priorities was, you know, you guys had looked at a while back at not only finishing out this neighborhood, but, you know, the industrial lane there, converting that to a urban section instead of a rural section with ditches through there.
Which this project would be part of that.
It would support that, you know? But it is something though, like you
Right.
said, you have to look at the
Yeah.
big picture in order to prioritize and.
And I completely agree, Tyler, that I think we need to sit down and put those things together so we can give Mark direction and move forward. But I also think you could take like the, you know, if you're doing storm sewer, because it would be industrial lane, you know, do you try to package, you know, the Catholic Church in front of that at the same time? Because you're gonna have the contract doing the exact same work, it's never gonna get cheaper. You have the contract and they're doing the same thing. You try to throw that out. Again, it's more money, but you're there with the tools you need to do the job.
Where are you guys at with the Catholic Church, situation there?
They just
Rip-rap in it.
they just
Reseeded part of
reaffirmed
it.
it up here this fall, or late
Yeah.
summer, early fall.
Seem to be holding.
Yeah, so far.
See,
I mean,
the
it's been
erosion's
pretty
gonna
dry
start to boil
so
already
far.
doing that, so it's gonna just, the riprap will stay, but
Yeah,
the stone's already starting. to
yeah, they haven't really had any good reads, I don't think, since
Yeah.
they did that.
Haven't really put it to the test yet.
Yeah,
1,000 times better than what it was.
right.
Yeah, 100%, 100%, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
But again, you talk about, you know, things we talk about, you know, sidewalks and safety and widening the road, you know, going into West Side, all that falls into play on that too.
Yeah.
So, you know, I know we talked with, you know, when Ellis was talking about building, this is gonna be one of our priorities with the storm sewer in on that too.
Right.
Because again, the more concrete you put in,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, 100%, I'm
the
not,
less it is for it to soak away.
yeah, I'm not saying yes or no, you know, obviously on that at all, but just so we keep a
Right.
full view of this thing.
You didn't ask the question.
Go ahead.
Is that new parking lot that they put in up there by the school, is that coming down past us? Is that where they feed that to?
Gotta come down to Grove Street and dumps it there.
Is that where it comes? Okay. So that,
So that added more when they
That
did
adds a
that.
lot.
Right.
that's carrying a lot of
That
water.
adds a lot, yes it does.
Well, I mean, I think it's a lot, but does that, I guess it wasn't all school, there was still that part, there was still the playground and stuff. I was thinking, I mean, it was, I mean, a lot of that was already
Yeah.
in the building
A lot of it
anyway.
was.
but,
Yeah.
Probably
There's
60,
just a lot more
60%
flat
of it
surface
probably
there
was.
now than there.
But it didn't all run, it kind of ran different directions though, because if it did, now it all goes
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand.
to that
Yeah.
southwest corner. Before, like the front of the school, it went to the front
Yeah,
and it would go down.
would have went down Mitchell Street, you're right,
Correct.
okay. And now it all goes that way.
So it drastically changed that flow.
I didn't think about it that way, yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of water. So, again, obviously, I think we need to put a budget or a meeting together, a workshop meeting together.
I'd be happy to participate if you guys want, be there in your goal setting and prioritizing and
Yeah.
and we need to provide there.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea. Do something like that soon.
Yeah, I think we should do it sooner than later so we keep things moving.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, 100%.
Prior to giving him the go-ahead for redoing the plan or paying for the plan, right? Or do we want him to do the plan anyway and then figure out when to follow up? Cause that plan's gonna be needed and the cost is gonna continue to grow. I don't know, I just wanna
How
understand
much
what
was
you
the
guys
plan
are.
cost again?
$86,000 to do the initial plans and specifications to bid the work out.
What was our thoughts for paying for that, I guess?
Are paying for it?
Yeah.
Well, obviously the stormwater hasn't grown to that level of money yet. Plus, like you said, we also have other projects to consider, but, since we have about 92,000 in the stormwater fund, we can use a portion of that and amend the budget. Or we could do like we've done in the past, have a, interfund loan or, borrow money from sewer to get us at least to the plan, get the plan done before we have to amend.
Mark, if this would get pushed off for 2 to 5 years, how much more would it I know this is a loaded question, how much more would it cost us to renew the plan?
Yeah, I mean, if I've got it done, a stamp, seal, set of plans there, and then we're gonna update it 2 years from now, I mean, I really just need to change some of the front-end documents. I'm not changing the plan at all unless, something else has changed in the area that, makes us have to make some sort of a modification, but we're not talking much at all, $2,000 or something.
That's good, but I think if we're questioning anything, I think to be fiscally responsible, we should have a workshop.
I
Know what we're doing before we spend $86,000.
I agree. Yeah.
And I think, to me, that's one of the top priorities is that, because we know we have a problem. And we know that needs fixed down there, but there's not a problem like it is out there right now.
But it ain't getting done in a month from now. We got,
Right.
not that we have time,
In the grand
we do
scheme of
have some
things,
time.
yeah, if you take a month or two to kinda hash it out, it's,
Cover your bases.
yeah.
I'm in favor of waiting to give Mark the okay as long as we move forward with the workshop in the next 30, 60 days.
Mhm.
That works for us too.
And I'd love to have you participate in that one.
Yeah,
I'd
absolutely.
be happy to.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
You schedule something then, Cheryl?
Yeah, we can work together on
Yeah.
that.
Sounds good.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Is there any other agenda items you want me to stick around for?
I don't
Think so.
All right.
If you're free.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Mark.
guys.
Appreciate
Yeah.
your time Friday.
You betcha. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tim, I don't think we have to carry around either if you don't want. Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Tim.
Resolution 2025-05, adopting the annual street finance report for fiscal year 24. 5, consider approval and placing on file the SFR.
Yeah, the street finance report is something that is required by the state every year. It's based on last year's fiscal year expenses and revenues through our streets and road use funds. Basically, you take the reports from all the revenues and all the expenditures for that fiscal year and put them into where they were spent out of on the expenses. And then you break the road use portion of those expenses out in its own column. That one's pretty cut and dry, and we do the same thing for revenues. We have revenues coming in, on streets, basically just a few our revenues are mostly what we get from the state in the road use column. We do not have any bonds and loans currently for our streets or road use. And they always keep a running list of equipment that the city has, and we did add the Kubota skid loader that we just purchased, cause it is used for street equipment. That gives other cities the opportunity to see what what we have, you know, what's valued at, how, you know, I don't know, it's just part of the report. And then the biggest thing this year was to add the final numbers for the Amos Street reconstruction project. So I took the contracted price that we got when Eastern Iowa did the program and the final price. And that just shows where most of our road use money went during that last year. And that's just a summary, and again, I just passed it with a resolution. It's nothing, we can change the numbers, it really doesn't need your approval. I mean, it's even already submitted to the state, but we just have a resolution passed, so it is placed on file according to regulations. That's it in a nutshell.
All right, thank you. Okay, anybody got any questions on that? Have a motion for resolution 2025-05.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-05 as presented.
Second?
Second.
And roll call, please.
Matt Gardy?
Yeah.
Matt Peterson?
Yes.
Lisa Buddy?
Yes.
Dylan Meyer?
Yes.
Adam Ryder?
Yes.
Okay, other business, ECIA codification of ordinances update. What do you have on that, Cheryl?
In your packet, I put the letter that we got from ECIA, from Marla Quinn. ECI has, been in charge of updating our code of ordinances ever since I can remember. And it's been 5 years since the last one, so we are up to have that completed again by April of next year. So I just wanted to let you know that this is coming up, get your thoughts on, basically we've had maybe 5 or 6 additional ordinances passed since the last one. The biggest one being the property maintenance that we just updated. So I took the initiative to send those to her. She said she wouldn't be starting it anytime soon, but just to kind of get on track with it. And then any updates from the state, that is the model code, that's a majority part of our ordinances is required. She would have put those in as well to get those all updated. I asked her about the rough cost, and I think she said like $2,000 to $3,000, and that was on the high side. So for her to do all that, I mean, the other option would be reaching out to another vendor who does codification. Chad actually approached me today because he's our ordinance enforcer, basically. And I know Macokota recently had another company do theirs. And Chad just wondered if it was something we could consider contracting with them, or at least reaching out. And I said I could probably get in touch with them, see the timeline, see if that's feasible, see what they might charge, tell them it's codification, and seeing if they are willing to do it, number one, and if it's feasible to get it done by April of next year. If we would start from scratch, basically. So those are just a couple options. But I just wanted to put it out there too. I can contact Marla and let her know that want her to move forward, or if we have any other suggestions.
I don't think it hurts to check with the other company, but I think it's good to work with ECIA. I mean, I think that makes most sense for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with checking in, I guess, but yeah.
And I just received that email sent today, but I think I will do that, and hopefully they can get back to me with a answer one way or another before I let Marla know.
Yep.
I know, I can't believe it's been 5 years ago, but I've gone for whatever we tried to do it last time. It was not a fun task.
Painstaking.
Yeah, and I would appreciate any combing through the ordinances that you see, anyone or all of you, take a section maybe if you were on the streets committee, just comb through them, see if there's anything catches your eye, based on what committee. I put the code can be found on our website, but I did include in your packets too. So, just to get a start on it.
Yep.
I just wanted to give that quick update. What else was there?
The electric grid.
Grant? Yeah, unfortunately, we did not get the grant to do our, for the grid resiliency grant for all the electric stuff we need, so we got a letter saying that, oh, where did I put it? That's too bad.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, but they did kind of break down why we didn't get it. I think I put that in the packet too. That's the letter.
See, I just seen the letter, I didn't say, let's see.
I think it was the top of the update.
Oh, yeah, it was in the update.
Oh,
What number is that?
Yeah, in the council updates. I'm losing it.
What was the basics why we didn't get it?
Basically, the scoring, our application seemed more against deficiencies rather than resiliency, which was the main focus of the grant, to prevent outages, where ours it was more, you know, we didn't have a big data on a lot of outages that we were trying to rectify. Yes, the project would eliminate future outages, but that didn't score well. The scores range from, it's a very competitive grant as well. The average score being like around 50, and the median score 49, and we scored right in the middle of the 14 applications at 46.63. So there was 14 applications requested, a total of $17 million, and only 5.6 million was available. So they just said it was a very competitive application. And we're encouraged to, if we get some more data, apply again. And Amanda's aware of this, so she has taken all these into consideration. So when it opens again, we can always try again. But we may need to schedule a meeting of the electric committee to see how much of that project, since we do have the engineering that SCH did, where do we want to start on the needs and not the wants? So that's all I really had on that.
We got that transformer, that's
The transformer is the biggest one.
yeah, that's the big ticket item there.
Yeah. And we actually had budgeted for it at one point. I mean, the electric fund is doing well. We could probably at least get quotes on that and move that forward, but yeah, we would like to sit down sometime and review all the needs.
Yeah, probably not a bad idea to do also. Just got that Hampshire committee meeting.
easy to forget about stuff like that when
Yeah.
it's working until it doesn't again.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, the system is in threat of if anything happens, you know, if that transfer goes down, we're done.
Without that, we got
Yeah,
nothing.
We got nothing.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's stay on top of that one too, so we can hopefully, honestly, we were kinda waiting to hear, we'll see when we hear back from the grant anyway,
Sure.
so now that we know, let's kinda move forward on
Yeah.
our own and plan accordingly, so. Okay, does anybody have any other, business they would like to share? Your chance, Mr. McPherson.
nothing.
Sold. Okay, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.